welcome to this edition of Cover to Cover, and thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Caitlin Cowart with the San Antonio Public Library. The library promotes learning and literacy in all forms. We celebrate the written word and all things literary. During the month of April, the San Antonio Public Library celebrates National Poetry Month. National Poetry Month is the world's largest literary celebration and celebrates the vital role that poetry plays in our culture. Here to tell us more about the National Poetry Month events and programs coming up at the library are Diana Morganti, the library's coordinator of services to adults, and local poet Amanda Flores, also known as Amanda the Poet. Diana and Amanda, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Well, I'm really excited. National Poetry Month is coming up, and there's all kinds of really exciting things going on at the library. And I'm sure, Amanda, you have engagements at the library and things around town. So there's lots of buzz going on about poetry this month. So let's just start in general, broad terms. Why do you think it's important to observe National Poetry Month? Diana, you first.
Certainly. Well, the mission of the library is to create a community in our area, and one of the ways that we do that is to bring people together to celebrate common goals. We're promoting literacy by making literacy fun. We also like to promote education and learning, of course, in all of our libraries and in the things that we do, so this supports that part of our mission as well.
Yeah, and Amanda, why do you think it's important?
Well, along those same lines, to promote literacy, and most importantly, I think from what you mentioned there, is to make it fun. That's my favorite part of poetry, and that's the whole reason I started performing poetry, was because I was sort of tired of youngsters, and I was one of them, thinking that poetry was sort of this boring, smelly thing that your English teacher read aloud to you, that consisted of old English and things you couldn't understand. And so I really enjoy the accessibility that poetry and performance poetry have been able to lend literature. And so it's awesome that we get to spend a whole month just devoting all of our hearts and even if it means we have to suffer from carpal tunnel syndrome.
Absolutely, just getting it out one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely, getting into schools. It's wonderful.
So poetry's come a long way since the Canterbury Tales. I remember reciting that one in high school English class.
Were they still doing that, where they would make you memorize poems? Like, that was their idea of teaching poetry, was memorize this poem and perform it next week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. So, Diana, tell me a little bit more about what's going on at the library in the month of April.
Sure. We have special events at several of our libraries. We've got an open mic night at a couple of libraries. We've got a haiku class. We actually have a lecture at the Forest Hills Library on the spirituality of Emily Dickinson.
How fascinating.
Yeah, kind of neat. And then every library in town will be celebrating Poem in Your Pocket Day, which is a day where we're going to have the library staff and volunteers going all over town. So you'll see them in your library. You might see them at the coffee shop near your house, where they're going to be handing out little rolled up poems for you to put in your pocket and to share with people as you go throughout your day.
Oh, wow, I love it. That's great. How interactive, and bringing the community into the experience is exactly what we love to do. We invite the community in, but we like to get out there as well with the community. So as far as the open mic nights, do you need to sign up in advance? Can you just show up? And
no, I think that they're designed to be really kind of off the cuff, spur of the moment. So yeah, definitely it's just show up. We have a couple of those going on in our libraries. Yeah. And another really neat program that I didn't mention yet, we have our city's newest poet laureate will be coming to the Carver Library. Jenny Brown. She's going to be at the Carver Library on April 22nd, I believe, and she's going to be doing a reading of some of her poems.
Well, I look forward to, and I know the community really does, to hear more about her work and see her perform her work, and that's wonderful. And congratulations to her as being the new poet laureate.
I had the honor of having her as one of my professors at Trinity.
Oh, great!
So I was just elated to hear that she was our third poet laureate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if someone wants to learn more about how to write poetry, how to just express yourself in this way, in this creative form, what do you suggest? If you're just getting started, what do you do?
Well, a great place to start is by reading poetry. They say the best writers are also readers, and I think that's true. It doesn't mean that you have to copy what someone else is doing, but to immerse yourself in that world. One way or another, something's going to catch on, whether it be rhythm or some sort of poetic device, or you recognize a simile, or you think someone is funny, right? I think I first got into wanting to write when I saw people like Jerry Seinfeld doing, stand-up comedy and making people laugh, and so I really love that entertaining value. So I think that a really important thing, though, if you'd like to start writing poetry, is to not try to write poetry, because oftentimes new writers, beginning writers, will look at the page and they'll just be intimidated by it, and how do I start, and where do I start, and what is poetry? And sometimes that leads way to utilizing cliches or things that sound like poetry, her smile was lovely as a rose, and things like that. But I think that what makes poetry is the uniqueness and the freshness with which one can imbue an idea that is age old.
And where do you get your inspirations, and do you have a process? Like, do you sit down every day and commit and say, I'm going to spend some time, focus on my creative work, or you just do this as you feel inspired?
Well, that's a funny question, because hopefully I'll get to do a poem for you later, and that poem I think addresses this a lot. But when I first began, unfortunately, it was just when I was inspired. Oh, I've got a great idea. Let me try and write that down. But sure enough, as the years went by, and I noticed that this was more than just a hobby, and it has now become a profession. You don't wake up and say, well, do I feel like going to work today? And then only go to work when you feel inspired to go to work. And so even when I don't feel as though the muse has shown up, I will squeeze it out, and it can often be torturous, but I'll just, write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write until I get tired of writing about how I don't know what to write, and sooner or later the muse will show up. So yes, I do try and write daily. I don't know, I can't attest to the caliber of the writing, but definitely I try to write daily.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And probably I would imagine like some of your most inspired poems may have even happened that way, because you just finesse it and it all happens. That's when the magic happens. Okay, so I was going to ask you like what advice you would give aspiring poets, but I guess that first thing that you said earlier, as far as starting to read poetry, get acquainted with it.
Watch it, right? Watch it, listen to it, but not too much, because I think that can be a downside too. Is YouTubing performance poets or something like that, and then often new performers will pick up on mannerisms or tactics of other performance poets and think that, oh, that's how it needs to be done, when again, I don't think that's where it should begin. So there's a fine line between engaging with others' work and creating your own.
Tell me, where can we see you out performing in the month of April?
Well, tons of places. Let's think. Well, April 1st, I actually been given the lovely honor of opening for a show at the Empire Theater.
Wow.
So I believe the group is called Pedal Punk, and they are sort of acrobatic bicyclists that do all sorts of wild things. And so I guess in order to celebrate National Poetry Month, the Empire and SA Arts are trying to have some poets opening for shows which would normally not be venues for poets. And so I get to open that up April 1st at the Empire Theater.
Very awesome. Starting it off right.
Yeah, I thought so. And then actually right after that, I'll be rushing over to an event that I'm hosting and putting together. I've been wanting to put it together for years now. It's called April's Most Eloquent Fool's Day, and it'll be April 1st because, of course, poets go as far back as, who knows, right? But think of the sort of the fool or the joker from sort of Shakespearean times, how he was always sort of riddling this and riddling that, but also very poetic and rhythmic, and usually had to get some sort of stealthy message across, oftentimes to the king or somebody that was higher up, and so they had to be very careful about manipulating their language and whatnot. So I thought that I would mix the concept of the fool and of course being on April 1st, April Fools, and
there you go.
Put them together. And so April 1st at 10 p.m. at Jumpstart Theater, I'll be hosting that event, and it'll sort of be not an open mic and not a poetry competition, but more sort of like that show. Have you seen that show, Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh, yes.
So it'll be like the Whose Line Is It Anyway of poetry. So we'll mix fun and games, decathlon-like competition, and it'll be a lot of fun. Head-to-head, haiku death match. There'll be a Shakespearean insult round.
Wow.
It'll be a round on flatulence, where you have to eloquently, describe well, you can imagine.
That'll be a fun challenge.
I think so. And so that'll be happening April 1st, 10 p.m. at the Jumpstart Theater. It's $5 and it's BYOB. Of course, we won't turn anyone away, though. In fact, if you show up at the door with a haiku, we'll be more than glad to let you in.
Cool. So is there a website just where we can see a full list of things, do you know, for the rest of the month?
Yes, the San Antonio publishes the National Poetry Month calendar, and I believe the website is npmsa.org. And keep an eye out, and usually the libraries and the schools will have the printed version also, at the door near their other periodicals and whatnot.
All right.
So that'll have everything on there.
Cool. And I know we're going to hear one of your poems in a little bit, but before we cut to break, Dee Dee, tell me a little bit more. There's a way for the community to participate in Poem in Your Pocket, right?
Absolutely. So if you're interested in participating in Poem in Your Pocket Day, please call up your local library and offer to help them distribute poems to your community.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being here and sharing the great information with us. Now it's time for a short break, but before we come back to talk about another exciting April celebration, Fiesta, let's hear a poem from Amanda.
A poem for all you full-time poets out there. I wish Facebook was hardcore enough to require some sort of confirmation for all of our alleged occupations. Surely, full-time connotes 40 hours because, well, poets are generally smart and, well, you do it full-time. Man, full-time poet, how you have time for an 8-to-5 poet job and another job? I don't understand. The way you manipulate minutes, full-time poet, I'd say you were toe waltzing the night, twisting clock knobs, the poet trying to fool time. It's as if you breed it, or else where do you find it? No full-time poet slaving over desks surrounded by broken graphite from all that damned pressure could have time to consider the time paradigm. That she was writing with pencil in the first place speaks smudgeable, erasable volumes enough. On the cover of Cosmo Poets and Writers, see where you weigh in. You may not be a full-time poet if, check all that apply. If you only have one pen and cannot find it. If you have witty comebacks on layaway or are still paying for that one back in '98. If you only have one notebook and you're trying really hard not to get it dirty. If the only waltz you know is Disney. If you use your fingers to count haiku and are ashamed of it, or if you refer to Shel Silverstein as a she, then it might be time to update that resume, full-time poet, because it's straight up starting to look like you're on call, homie, on the weekends. What's up, poems? If someone says romantics and you say your favorite one was Romeo, if you think Dewey Decimal is a measurement of sound, if you think Dewey Decimal is code for a girl's period, if you think Random House is a karaoke song in the middle of the street, if you think Strunk and White are brother owners of a traveling circus, or if you're sure Thesaurus is a prehistoric cousin of Littlefoot and Petrie, hand over your license. Here's a guest poet badge. If you can't place a flippin' name from Algernon, Charlie Atticus, Finch, and Ponyboy, work from home poet. If you can cross a word you don't know and not look it up, bad poet. Shh, no. If you can't see poetry in the scriptures, part-time. If you can't see poetry in Seinfeld, part-time. If you can't see poetry in science, part-time. If you only write what you know, well, it's your body, your choice. But if you're always sure you know, and thus write only truths, funny poet, broke poet, You want a second opinion? Man, I just gave you like 35. Here, an admonition for the road. Don't be spreading your rash decisions, or I will tell everyone what you spilled last Whiskey Wednesday. Between upheaves of car bomb curdles, I thought you were just being poetic when you said you had something to get off of your chest. You said that you only write when you feel like it. Inspiration-only writing is for two types of people, beginners and the constantly inspired. Hey, full-time, take some days. We just can't afford the overtime.
Welcome to the Mayor's Book Club. I'm so excited to announce the Spring 2016 book choice, The Book Thief by Marka Zusak. The Book Thief, which inspired the 2013 film, is the story of Liesel Memminger, a 9-year-old German orphan who is sent to live with Hans and Rosa Huberman in the town of Molching shortly before World War II. The book delves into Liesel's relationships with her adopted parents, the mayor's wife, who invites her to read in her library, a Jewish man named Max, who they hide in their basement, and with the politics of the Nazis during the Holocaust. Among other themes, The Book Thief explores the power of words and propaganda, humanity and dehumanization, abandonment, and survivor's guilt. During the months of March, April, and May, I encourage everyone to read The Book Thief by Marka Zusak and then participate in discussion and events that focus on the themes of the book at their local branch library. Engage with other members of the community and share a love of reading with each other. One of the roles of libraries is to advance reading and support literacy. Libraries are always there to provide a place where students learn, citizens engage, and communities gather. I especially encourage young adults and their parents and families to read this book together. Reading as a community provides opportunities for people of different backgrounds and stages in life to sit down and discuss ideas that are important to all of us. I hope that each of you will check out a copy of the book at your local branch library or digitally at mysapl.org.
San Antonio, and welcome back to Cover to Cover. Today we're talking about some exciting celebrations happening in San Antonio in April. The San Antonio Public Library provides opportunities for people to meet, exchange ideas, and participate in the life of their community. April is Fiesta time, and it's time to celebrate our culture, heritage, and history. The library is home to a special department that acquires, preserves, and offers access to research materials relating to San Antonio, Bexar County, and Texas history. The Texas Genealogy Department Central Library is also home to an extensive and rare Fiesta Medal collection. Here to tell us more about the history of Fiesta, the Texana Department, and more are librarians Sylvia Reyna and Matt DeWalshy. Sylvia and Matt, thanks for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so let's just start in general. What is the Texana Genealogy Department? What do you do and what do you offer?
Well, we help people who are coming in doing research on their family history or people who are doing history research in general. Most of our patrons are genealogists that are looking into their own personal family history, but we also assist scholarly researchers. We have history professors who come in who are working on projects. We have students who come in who are working on history fair projects and that kind of thing.
Okay, great. And you have some special projects that you work on too, and tell me a little bit about the funeral program project that you work on.
We've been collecting area African American funeral programs for over 10 years now, and they're just donations from the community. And we have over 4,500 of them, and they've been scanned and are available online through the portal to Texas History at the University of North Texas. And there is a link from the library catalog to those that are online. And it's one of the best collections of its kind in the whole country.
Right, yeah, it's very rare, and you've put a lot of work into making that happen. You know, and what has been some of the most powerful parts to you, meaningful parts of working on this project?
Well, there are a few in there of people that we've actually known, people who have come in and who are regular patrons, so that makes it kind of personal.
Yeah.
It ranges in ages. I mean, there are centenarians, people over 100 years old, and there are infants and children, and the ones on the children are always kind of sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's really kind of an interesting cross-section of the entire community. I mean, there's famous people who were Tuskegee Airmen and Negro Baseball League players. But then there's also just a lot of regular neighborhood community people, and I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be able to help in that way. And Sylvia, you were telling me a little bit about the Ancestry.com services that Texana offers.
On a regular basis, on a daily basis, we get people that call in because they need to verify a death date so they can get the death certificate. So we get questions on death dates all the time, and we also get people that call in when they're at the cemeteries. The city cemeteries, the historic ones on the east side, there's 7 of them, and we have a LibGuide that has an Excel sheet that has some of the folks that are buried there. So that's
and the LibGuide is something that can be found at mysalpo.org. It's a resource informational page that we have on our website. Yeah. And
we have the Ancestry subscription, the library subscription to that database, and that's another way of finding the death dates. You have to be on one of our library computers to access that database, but that's a frequently used resource.
Yeah, and this is really important to the community in order to learn about their history, learn about their ancestry, their families, and who they are and where did they come from. So I think that's wonderful. I mean, what's one of your favorite things about the job that you do in that aspect?
Well, that's a really neat thing because some people get very emotional because they're finding out information about their ancestors, and they're a lot of times they're very ecstatic to find this information, and maybe a person they've been looking for 10 years, and they finally find something on it. This is a thing that the databases are always getting updated, and so maybe you didn't find anything the first time, and then years later you do find something on the individual that you were looking for. Yeah. It's a very personal thing for them, and just the excitement in people's voices and faces when they find a lost loved one. Yeah, no, that's wonderful and very meaningful to people. And on another note, it's a completely different subject as far as Fiesta Medals, but y'all help with all kinds of different research and collecting all of these important historical elements and facts. So we have some Fiesta Medals here today. Tell me a little bit about this particular collection of Fiesta Medals. In Texana, we also have a lot of things that are donated to us, and this happens to be a collection that was donated by Randy Bear to a SAPL about 2 years ago, and he was one of the elected commissioners, and he was also working for USAA with the Volunteer Corps, and then he went off to another job and left. So, but he left us this collection. It's almost 600 medals, Fiesta Medals. That's amazing. And it's the Party with a Purpose. I mean, it originally started as a celebration, Fiesta from the Battle of San Jacinto, and it's turned into something where it's a celebration of San Antonio and the history of San Antonio. And it's a party with a purpose. And this, with the medals, what people are doing now, or different organizations are turning it into a fundraiser. So you've got all these different organizations that's a time to just get your medals out, and you share them, you exchange them, and you start your collection. Here is just a variety of some of the collections, and they're from your formal ones, from the Battle of Flowers, from the King Antonio to the Rey Feo, to all different businesses. There's also City Council has a bunch of different ones. Everyone get personalized medals, but and then we also have the homemade ones. I think those are pretty funny. We've got quite a variety, quite a selection.
Yeah, it's amazing how creative people get with, you know, what they decide to make their Fiesta Medal look like. And the library has Fiesta Medals now. They're available at the Fiesta store throughout the month of April. So, Matt, tell me, Texana also has some really other very interesting artifacts that you have housed there.
Well, we have a lot of archival collections. I recently processed a collection from the Beacon Hill Area Neighborhood Association. That it's very interesting, and the lady who was the president of it may write a book about it and use the records that we have there for it. We have records from King William and Monte Vista and various other organizations throughout the city. We also have a collection of high school yearbooks, and we recently sent those off to Oklahoma to be digitized.
Oh, great.
And they're going to come back. They're going to send back the originals and scanned copies on DVDs, and then so we can post those online as well.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be very interested to see those that might not have their
extensive collection
books
of Brackenridge High School. We have their Alumni Association records, so we have almost a complete run from the 1920s through the mid-1960s of their yearbooks.
Wow. All right.
And we'll probably be doing a display with the Brackenridge High School, some of the materials that we've also received, like uniforms from the historic ones, really little Pep Squad uniforms. We'll probably do a display with them, and as a matter of fact, we're going to have a display also with the medals coming up.
And that's going to be like in the window
on the
sixth
floor. So people can come look at more of the
Do you have a date of when that's going to be?
It's going to be up this week.
Oh, it's going to be up this week. So it'll stay up throughout the month of April?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, everybody in San Antonio is welcome to come and check that out, and then, you know, spend some time with you all researching their ancestors and finding out family history. It's a wonderful thing to do and a wonderful way to spend an afternoon. Well, I thank you both so much for being here, and
thank you.
For more information about these and other happenings at the library, head to our website at mysapple.org or follow us on social media at mysapple. Tune in next month for our next edition of Cover to Cover. See you then, San Antonio, and thank you.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund breeding.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Information on hot water heating.
No. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out the words.
World music, playing track now.
No.
Let me try. Our daughter gets confused about which details in a story are important.
Which paper towels are most absorbent?
What?
Here are 5 product reviews.
Why are you not getting me?
See, I told you.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.